What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Kingdom Crew podcast. I am your host, Josh Fan, and I am joined by my co-host, as always, Michael Darcy of KC Sports Report. And Michael, first of all, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Josh. The Chiefs got their first win last week, so we finally have a win on the season, and just kind of been reading some of the news throughout the week, getting ready for the Bears. Should be an interesting game, to say the least.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking about this one because it seems like there's more off the field stuff than on the field stuff to talk about. And honestly, you could say that for this Kingdom Crew episode, just overall. But before anything, I just want to shout out my own merch because it came in earlier this week, my Show Me Football shirt, and I think it turned out great. And if you guys if you want this shirt or any of the other products that I offer, I mean, that'll be in the description. It's on my website on the Show Me Football shop. And then my shop is also linked to my channel. I know Michael has his own stuff too, so for sure go ahead and check that out. But he's had his for a while. I just started mine, and I thought it turned out really well.
Josh's stuff is brand new, guys. You guys got to get it while you can, and it looks really good, Josh.
Yeah, no, I mean it's really a simple design. It's nothing crazy. It's just the logo and Show Me Football on the shirt and all that good stuff. But I mean, it's a good way to rep Show Me Football while also picking. I mean, I offer all sorts of different colors. I have like gold for Mizzou. I got red for Chiefs, blue for the Battlehawks. So that way, because I know not all of you are here for the Chiefs, some of you are here for Mizzou. So like, I got colors to where you could wear it at a Mizzou game while also repping Show Me Football and all that stuff. So be sure to check that out. That'll be down below. My products are already linked on the channel. But with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the biggest storylines in Chiefs Kingdom right now. And Michael, a lot happened this week. And I know one of the things that you want to talk about was the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, are they dating drama? But that's going to take a backseat for now because I have to talk about something that happened that was actually important relative to the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes had his contract restructured earlier this week. The Chiefs moved up a bunch of money. What they did was they pumped a bunch of money into the next 4 years of his contract to pay him more close to what the top of the market looks like. I know a lot of people were confused by this. No new money was added to Patrick Mahomes' contract. No new years were added. No money was taken away. No years were taken away. All they did was take money from future years of his contract and move it up to now to pay Patrick Mahomes like some of the other top quarterbacks in the league because he was kind of slowly dropping down the list of highest paid quarterbacks. Justin Herbert was ahead of him. Joe Burrow was ahead of him. Josh Allen's ahead of him. All these guys, Deshaun Watson. And I talked to Ryan Tracy of RGR Football on my channel earlier this offseason, and I brought this question up to him of when he thinks this could happen because he always said there would be a day where Patrick Mahomes would come back to the table and say, I deserve more money than what I'm getting. Patrick Mahomes, yes, he took a team-friendly deal at the time that he signed that 10-year contract extension, but he was never going to let himself become the 15th highest paid quarterback in the league or something crazy like that. That was never going to happen. This deal was always designed for the Chiefs and Mahomes to move money around to best fit what the NFL economy looks like, to both fairly pay Patrick Mahomes and to also give the team flexibility because this contract restructure did not come without a benefit to the Chiefs. One of the big changes that was made in this restructure is they moved the Patrick Mahomes roster. Oh gosh, what was the signing bonus conversion was moved to later in the offseason, where as before it was in what was it, March, I think, which was before most of the offseason festivities like free agency and the draft. And so the Chiefs were kind of guessing how much money they needed to open up. Now that they push the conversion date later in the offseason, the Chiefs have the option or the deadline rather was moved. The Chiefs can open up more money as they see fit. So if a guy like DeAndre Hopkins becomes available next year, the Chiefs can be like, all right, let's just open this cap space real quick. This year, they weren't able to do that because the Chris Jones thing was holding everything up, and the Chiefs didn't really have any other avenues to open cap space. Mahomes moving that roster bonus conversion or that signing bonus conversion deadline later in the offseason is absolutely huge. And Michael, I don't know how much you saw of the reaction to this restructure, but it seems like a lot of people are like, "Oh, what happened to the team friendly deal? What happened to playing on pennies so that this team could afford other players?" This does not keep the Chiefs from doing that. In fact, it actually makes Patrick Mahomes' later years of his contract less expensive because they're moving money over the next 4 years. Now, Adam Schefter did say they would renegotiate in like 2026, I think, which
Yeah.
means they'll probably give him more money. I understand that. But everyone said when he first signed that first 10-year extension that that was going to cripple the Chiefs. Did that cripple the Chiefs? No, it didn't, because this is how the market works. Patrick Mahomes becomes the highest paid quarterback, and then the next guy that gets paid after him resets the market again. And Patrick Mahomes is going to fall down the list again. I don't
Yeah.
think this is going to hamstring the Chiefs, like people are saying. I think they're still going to be able to move money around. I think Mahomes and the Chiefs both know what they're doing here. They're not going to do anything that sabotages their chances to win. And the Chiefs wouldn't have done this restructure, I don't think, if there wasn't some benefit to them, some incentive for them to do this deal. But there was, and that's why they did it. And most of us, we don't really know the inner workings of all this stuff. And we're not experts as Brett Veach is in that front office and doing this whole cap management thing. So I think when you do a little bit more deep diving on this contract restructure, it actually benefits both. It's a win-win. It benefits both sides pretty well.
Yeah, I think it's a really good thing for the Chiefs. Listen, he was never going to play out the remainder of that contract, kind of what he's getting paid. That's why they said that
Yeah.
they were going to renegotiate in 2026 or whenever that was, because, I mean, we knew that after Patrick Mahomes set the market, that the next guy to sign was going to get more. And then you had players like, I can't even remember who was getting paid higher than him, but there were some quarterbacks that should not have been paid higher than Patrick Mahomes that were getting
Yeah.
paid higher than Patrick Mahomes. So moving this money up, like you said, Josh, it doesn't change the amount of money in the contract. They're just, moving the cards around in the deck. And I
Yeah.
think the reason that they did this was to hopefully open up the cap space to extend Chris Jones. That's my best guess. Is it enough cap space? I'm not sure. I don't follow the contract workings that
Yeah.
closely, and if it'll even free up enough cap space. But I can only imagine that them pulling a move like this wasn't because Patrick came to them and explicitly said, I need this amount of money. I don't think
Yeah.
that was the case. I think what probably happened was Brett Veach came to Patrick Mahomes
Yep.
and says, you know what, hey, Pat, if we move this money, which we're expected to give to you 4 years later, if we move that up to now, it's going to allow us to be more flexible right now and next year to, extend Chris Jones, or like you said, pick up a free agent wide receiver, the flexibility that they did not have when Patrick Mahomes was getting paid, that money over the duration of the contract. So from that
Right.
perspective, I really like the contract restructure, so to speak. And yeah, it's just crazy, Josh, because when you're on Twitter and you're just reading what people are saying about it, I mean, they're just saying like, I can't believe the Chiefs gave him more money. And it's like, listen, I might not fully understand how contracts work and how they're able to, make cap space, but I'm not that dumb. Like I was very, it was very easy to look at how they move that money up. They're not giving him more money, guys. They're just moving the money around. So I think that it was a great thing for, both parties, but I think the Chiefs are probably the real winner in this situation.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that this was Brett Veach and the team coming to Mahomes rather than Mahomes coming and saying,
Yeah.
guys, give me more money. Because I think Brett Veach would only do this if it was advantageous for the Chiefs. And I think Mahomes doesn't strike me as a guy at all that's like, all right, I need more money now. Like, especially now at this point in the season, like we're in the middle of the season. It's week 3. Why would Mahomes all of a sudden week 3 of the NFL season be like, I need more money, guys? Like that's not what happened here. The Chiefs did this as a favor to Patrick Mahomes, and they said, and themselves, they went up to him and they're like, look, we're going to give you this because you've won 2 Super Bowls. You have 2 MVPs. Like, we love you. We appreciate you. And we want to give you a fair market deal. We want to pay you as much as Jalen Hurts is getting. We want to pay you as much as Deshaun Watson is getting. So we're going to move this money here. We're going to give you this money now. And this will allow us to also be more flexible in the future. And it also helped the Chiefs this year because it opened up right around $2.5 million dollars of cap space for this year, this season, just for that, you know, in season move or trade deadline pickup, because the Chiefs still didn't really have cap space to sign anybody. It's not a ton of cap space. It's not cap space that's going to allow the Chiefs to make a splash move at the deadline or anything like that. But it gives them like enough money to sign like Le'Veon Bell when he got cut by the Jets a few years ago and they were able to get him. It's enough money to be able to make a move like that, or if somebody gets hurt and they need to find a replacement. So it helped for this year too. Not that much, but it did give the Chiefs a little bit of breathing room for this year. And then again, the pushing the um, restructure from March to May is massive because it gives the Chiefs the option of waiting and seeing how much money they need to open up before they have to get under the cap threshold for the new league year. You know, like they can make all it's like before the Chiefs were having to open up the space, then make their moves, where now they can make their moves and then say, okay, how much cap space do we need to open up? It's like going shopping without making a list, is what they were doing before, you know?
Yeah, like going shopping without making a list, but still having to stay under a budget. So
Yeah.
they're buying all the stuff, but sometimes you buy the stuff and you're like, okay, I might not be able to, fit this under. So you got to leave it at the register. So I tried to work with the analogy, but yeah, I
No,
definitely
yeah. I mean,
think,
it's like you bring $100 bill because you think that's all you're going to
yeah,
spend. You have an idea of what you want, and then you get there and you end up being over budget.
yeah. And you got to make some, tough decisions. But I almost wonder if maybe Patrick Mahomes saw how Chris Jones impacted this defense in week 2 and went to Brett Veach and said, hey, what do we got to do to get this thing done with Chris? Or maybe it came vice versa. But it's hard for me to think that the Chiefs didn't have Chris Jones in mind when they did this restructure. I can't guarantee that, but there's a reason why they did that. And at the time that they did that, and I think it just so happens that Chris Jones came back to the team and had a hell of a game right after they made this decision, right before they made this decision. So that's definitely interesting to me.
Well, it's fair. It's a fair point by you because the first time Patrick Mahomes signed his extension and it was 10 years, 500 million, he tweeted out, well, because Chris Jones signed his deal right after that or shortly
Yeah.
after that. And Patrick Mahomes tweeted at him, he's like, I left money on the table for you, dog, or whatever he said. And everyone was like, "What? No, what do you mean? You can't sign a 10-year, $500 million deal on the table and say you left money on the table." But he did. He left money on the table for Chris Jones. He left just enough so that the Chiefs were able to get that deal done with Chris Jones. Patrick Mahomes really wanted Chris Jones in Kansas City the first time around when he was getting extended. And so, yeah, that's a fair point by you. I mean, I think that very well could have been a possibility of Chris Jones saying, like, man, this guy is just, he is that important to this team. What do we got to do? What do I have to do so that we can
Yeah.
keep him moving forward?
Yeah. And like I said, it fits both parties so well because Pat benefits by getting that money in his pocket right now. And the Chiefs benefit because now they have more wiggle room to make decisions in the future. So I think both parties benefit. Like I said, the Chiefs probably benefit a little bit more because you were going to have to pay Pat that money. Now you're just paying him first. But I definitely think that the Chiefs benefited. But really, overall, both parties benefited in the long run.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree. And it's nice to see Patrick Mahomes making what he deserves. He was going to
Yeah.
get the money no matter what over the duration of the contract. But it's got to be a good feeling if you're Patrick Mahomes knowing, okay, I'm getting paid what I'm worth now. Like I'm the highest paid player in the NFL right now.
Not even just that, but that the Chiefs as an organization went to him and said, you know what, Pat, all this other stuff that's going around where Joe Burrow signing for this and Justin Herbert signing for that he didn't have to ask to get his pay raised. The Chiefs did that on their own accord, and that's how you keep the structure healthy between an organization and a star quarterback. We've seen a lot of teams not do that, and in the end, that quarterback goes somewhere else. So I'm glad that they're treating the Patrick Mahomes relationship with the franchise seriously, and this is the kind of move that good organizations make to keep their star players happy.
Yeah, and we've mentioned it time and time again. Best run organization in sports because of the transparency from top to bottom, the transparency from Clark Hunt to Brett Veach to Andy Reid to Patrick Mahomes. Like there's zero dysfunction, which is funny because the team that the Chiefs are going up against this week in the Chicago Bears are full of dysfunction. They could be, they couldn't be any more opposite than they are right now. I mean, just it. We'll talk about it, but we're not quite there yet. I wanted to ask you though, Michael, the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift dating rumors are heating up
Mm.
because Travis's brother Jason said on their podcast that he thinks it's true that Travis Kelce is dating Taylor Swift. And for a while, we just heard reports like, oh, they're quietly hanging out. Didn't hear much about it. No one was really asking about it. They didn't address the rumors. And then on their latest episode of the New Heights podcast, Travis Kelce did say, or no, it was not New Heights. It was the Pat McAfee show. Travis Kelce was on there, and he admitted to Pat McAfee that I think he was at the concert, the Taylor Swift concert at Arrowhead, and basically slipped her a note or something like that, or talked to her, basically saying, shooting his shot, saying, "Oh, you got Arrowhead rocking. Now come to one of my events at Arrowhead, and we'll see which one's more lit, your concert or a Chiefs game." So I think Travis is having fun with this. He's having fun with the rumors, but I got to ask you, Michael, do you believe it? Do you think Travis is just feeding into the rumors, or do you think there's actually something going on with Taylor Swift here? I think my honest opinion, where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's been way too much smoke around this Travis Kelce Taylor Swift thing for there not to be any sort of truth to it.
They've probably hung out. I think that's probably a safe assumption just because they have been linked in so many rumors. And at a certain point, if they haven't hung out, they're definitely going to now that all these rumors are circulating. Because, I mean, this is with both these fan bases, the Chiefs and the Swifties, like they're both insane. And so I could see them almost getting together just because it's become so big. It's funny that we're talking about this because I really don't like Taylor Swift. Like I'm gonna keep it 100. Like I'm not a huge Taylor Swift
Oh
fan.
my God, Michael, you better hope this video doesn't
Listen,
reach the Swifties.
I know our audience demographic is mostly gentlemen of 25 to 30. So hopefully there aren't a lot of Swifties in that demographic. But then again, I could be wrong. But no, I'm not a giant Taylor Swift fan. If I was Travis Kelce, I would run like it's the plague, but I'm not Travis Kelce, so I can't do that. But yeah, we might have an album with Travis Kelce featuring it if this doesn't work out.
Yeah. Well, I told you before we started recording that I could see this going several different ways, but one way it could end is they inevitably break up. Taylor Swift writes a song about it, but then Travis Kelce is motivated to go scorch earth for the rest of the season, and the Chiefs win the Super Bowl because he's fresh off a breakup.
Yeah, and I will say this, for as many men as Taylor Swift has dated and broken up with and wrote songs about, you got to ask yourself, as a logical thinking man or woman watching this podcast or listening right now, are is Taylor Swift the problem if you're having
Yeah.
all of these breakups? I think Taylor's the problem, guys. It's the truth.
Well, and another thing we were talking about, it's like I go on Twitter and I look up Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, whatever, and I see Taylor Swift fans talking, like doing the research on Travis Kelce, saying, "Oh, I think he could be really good for Taylor," and some of them are like, "Oh, I don't know, guys, he might not be good for Taylor," and it's like, okay, you don't have the right of determining whether or not Kelce is good for Taylor because you know what, Taylor's track record would suggest she's not right for Travis Kelce.
Taylor's track history would recommend her not dating anybody ever. But um, at this point, whoever she dates, it ends up working out really well for her musically. So I understand why she does it. But yeah, if I'm Travis Kelce, I am running so far away so quickly, it's not even funny. But I mean, he's a younger guy, and oh man, I just
This is looking far into the future, and this is assuming that all of this is true. But could you imagine Kelsey actually settles down with Taylor Swift and they get married? That's
God,
that
that
family. The star. You got Donna Kelsey, who's heading everything. She's got two sons who are both all pro level players, and they played in the Super Bowl last year. They both have a Super Bowl ring. Travis has 2, I should mention. But then you would have Travis married to Taylor Swift, and her brother-in-law would be Jason Kelce, and it's like, what a star-studded family that is.
God, I could not imagine that Thanksgiving table. That would be yikes. No, it's interesting because you also see like the Swifties on Twitter being like, who is this Travis Kelce guy? It's just like they're doing like recon on him, but like they don't know who he is. So it's just really funny. But yeah, I wonder how much Travis is just kind of feeding into the rumors, so to speak. It's so weird because there's like a genuine demographic of people who really care about this, like actually
Yeah.
really care about this. Josh, is maybe a top 5 least favorite conversation we have ever had. I can't believe that we're talking about like tabloid news, but definitely I think there's a demographic for people who genuinely would be upset if they found out these two were not dating.
I mean, we can't not talk about it. It's
Oh
just
yeah.
it's huge. Everyone's talking about it. It's huge news. Like even Ian Rappaport is dropping hints saying a swift return for Travis Kelce when he came back against the Jaguars last week. I mean, good wordplay by Ian
Yeah.
Rappaport. But you hope this doesn't become a distraction and the Chiefs start losing. It's like, all right, can we stop talking about the Taylor Swift crap? Like,
Yeah.
we can have fun with it now, especially because all is good right now in Chiefs Kingdom. Yeah, we lost week 1, but like last week was a pretty good change of pace. And yeah, we're 1-1. We're heading into this game versus the Chicago Bears, and I just got to say right off the bat, Michael, because we'll dive into this preview. This should be a double-digit win, and if the Chiefs really care, if they're really up for this game, this should be a complete blowout. I am not impressed by the Bears whatsoever. I had questions about Justin Fields last year, and those are only being amplified this year after all the improvements the Bears made over the offseason, and they still look absolutely terrible. Um, and then I think I got to start with this. Bears defensive coordinator Alan Williams. There's been some drama surrounding him. There's been a lot of drama surrounding the Bears coaches this week, but I want to start with Alan Williams, their defensive coordinator, who resigned / got fired / had his home raided by the FBI.
I
And
didn't know
then
that.
Yeah, and then there was reports that the Bears facility was raided by the FBI, and then the Bears came out and they were like, no, that didn't happen. But they didn't deny that Alan Williams' home was raided by the FBI. And there seems to be something going on there. Alan Williams was already away from the team for quote unquote personal matters, and then he resigned earlier this week. I really think he got fired. I
Oh
don't think he
yeah.
was ever coming back. But there's been some pretty disturbing allegations made towards Alan Williams. There's been I'm not even going to bring them up, especially because none of this is matter of fact.
Yeah.
But I've also seen some reporters on Twitter say if these things that I'm hearing about Alan Williams are true, they're very disturbing. I'm not going to touch any sort of allegations or anything like that on this show, but uh, safe to say that things are not going great in Chicago. Also, because Justin Fields made a controversial comment about his coaches earlier this week in a press conference. Now, I want to be fair to Justin Fields because I think the quote was taken just a tiny bit out of context. He was basically saying how the coaches have been handing him a lot, or they've been handing him too much for him to handle. And a lot of people are like, "Oh my gosh, Justin Fields just threw his coaches under the bus." That's not quite what happened, but the quote that he gave also wasn't great. And it just seems like the player-coach relationship in Chicago is already going awry, and we're not even 3 weeks in.
Yeah, I didn't even I knew that he got fired / resigned. I didn't You'll have to tell me off podcast what he did because I'm trying to find the allegations
I
right now.
don't. Well, of course, like I don't know what he did, but like I've seen some stuff. I've seen some people allude to what the charges might
Okay, so there's
be
speculation of some
related to.
not good things going on.
Yes, I
Um,
mean, especially if you're having your home raided by the FBI, like that's usually not good. Usually,
yeah,
that means you probably have possession of some sort of material that is not legal to have.
yes, yeah,
And I'll just,
yeah.
yeah, I don't think I need to say any more.
Allegedly, allegedly,
Yeah,
allegedly,
allegedly,
allegedly.
allegedly.
We got to say it, but yeah, with or without their coaches, the Chicago Bears are a mess. They are a horrible football team. And it's funny because Justin Fields isn't getting a ton of hate. They're kind of like the national media feels bad for him, kind of like he's stuck in the wrong place,
Definitely
which,
Bears fans are very apologetic for
yes.
him.
But if you watch some of the throws that he makes, he just doesn't have anticipation. Like there's no anticipation behind his throws. And part of that might just be route concepts that, his offensive coordinator isn't drawing up the right plays. Because I think I saw something when they were driving, when they were down, and a couple of those interceptions came on like plays where they had like three receivers run slants. And so there is a lack of creativity in their offensive scheme. I think that's pretty obvious. But Justin Fields is definitely partially to blame for their offensive blunders, but the Chicago Bears are a mess all around. We're kind of used to the Bears having a really good defense. That's been the trademark of the Chicago Bears, a stout defense, but their offense is never really able to figure it out. They don't have anything this year. Their offense isn't good and their defense isn't good either. And, I went on a pick'em show earlier this week and I got asked about this game. And I alluded to the fact that the Chiefs should win this game by 14 to 21 points. But the way that the Chiefs play football, I wouldn't be surprised if they won this game by a touchdown or 10 points. For whatever reason, they love to play opponents close. But when you're playing this Chicago Bears team that has looked pretty bad to start off this season at home, you should win this game handily. But will they do that? I'm not sure.
Yeah, this seems like one of those typical Andy Reid letdown games of years past. Uh, and for the bettors out there, the Chiefs have been notorious for never covering the spread.
Yeah.
And so, I would be terrified to bet the Chiefs in this game to cover because it just really doesn't happen all that often. And Andy Reid is also known for taking it easy sometimes or not running up the score. He doesn't like to do that. He's a very respectful coach. And sometimes it's came back to bite him in the ass. But that's just who Andy Reid is. He's not really going to change. He doesn't like to go for the jugular unless it's like the postseason. But even then, we've seen some conservativeness from him in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Pre Patrick Mahomes, to be more specific, where he would let teams back in. But that's besides the point. Looking at the offensive rankings for 2023 for the NFL, the Chicago Bears are 26th in total offense. You mentioned Justin Fields being part of the problem. I think he's a large part of the problem because the Bears really went all in around him this offseason. They got offensive line help. They drafted Darnell Wright in the draft out of Tennessee. He is a top 10, top 15 pick, somewhere around there, maybe a little bit lower. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he was a first round offensive tackle. They traded for DJ Moore, the Carolina Panthers, who's quietly been one of the best receivers in the league for a long time now. The Bears have weapons to use. And then Justin Fields, he hasn't changed. Justin Fields' biggest problem is he has zero pocket presence. He will have all day to throw. I even saw a clip on Twitter where this guy had all day to throw. And instead of being patient and waiting to find a receiver, he runs right at the line of scrimmage and just runs into a sack. It was an awful play. It's just I don't know if he's so traumatized from the Bears offensive line being terrible last year that he feels like he has to run when he really doesn't have to. But it's man, this guy, he looks like he has no pocket presence at all. And just it's getting to that point when you look at quarterback life cycles, it's usually if you haven't shown anything by year 2 or 3, that's when you're kind of in the danger zone of just the team giving up on you. We're reaching that point with Justin Fields. He got outclassed by Jordan Love of the Green Bay Packers in week 1. And a lot of people did not expect Jordan Love to really be anything in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel personally, I think Jordan Love does have the potential to be a good quarterback, a top half starting quarterback in the league. But I know most people don't view him in that light. but he definitely looked like he could be against Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears. Their defense is still an absolute mess, but we'll stick with one side of the ball for now. Another thing that I've noticed about the Chicago offense is that for as good of a runner as Justin Fields is, they really have not been great at designing run plays for him.
Yeah, they've been terrible at that. And you'd think for a quarterback that, is so gifted running the football, they have like no design QB runs. And
Mm-hmm.
that's an offensive play calling problem. But I also want to talk about how, like, everybody last year was like, whoa, this Justin Fields kid, he might be something. And whenever they were saying that, I'm like, I mean, he hasn't been bad, but I didn't see it. I just didn't see it. But I still think that he could be something, but I don't know if he could be something in Chicago. I think Chicago is a large problem and definitely stunted his development. But some of the stuff that you mentioned, his pocket presence, taking bad sacks, this year specifically with the offensive line help getting better, that's a problem for him. Like, you got to get rid of the ball quicker. And last year I think he was sacked like 100 something times. Like, he was the most sacked quarterback in the game, and I think he might have a little PTSD from that. But you got to shake that off, because your job is to get rid of the football quickly, find your wide receivers open. And there's been a couple times where wide receivers have been wide open, and like I mentioned earlier, his anticipation's so bad that he holds onto the football instead of throwing that ball while like in progress while the route is going, and he ends up
Mm-hmm.
taking a sack. And that just kills drives, and ultimately, like, that's not the thing you can have if you want to be a successful starting quarterback in this league. And that's a great thing for the Chiefs, because a guy that lacks anticipation and lacks pocket presence is not going to fare very well against this defensive line.
No, it's not. A defensive line that we saw dominate the Jacksonville Jaguars in week 2. Absolutely dominated, especially with Chris Jones being back. And a lot of Chris Jones's pressure came from the edge in that game too. The Bears have a rookie at tackle in Darnell Wright, who I think the Chiefs are going to try to exploit that matchup with Chris Jones. And then I still love the rest of this Chiefs defensive line. They don't have a Menahue back yet, but George Karlaftis already has 2 sacks on the year. Felix Anudike-Ozama, I feel like his first has got to come some point. I feel like this would be a good game to bet that. But yeah, if I was a Bears fan, I would be terrified of what this Chiefs defense is going to do to the Chicago offense. And the secondary going up against Chicago's weapons, like, I'm not really concerned. Like, DJ Moore is nice, but and you want to talk about drama, there was a clip dropped on Twitter of DJ Moore talking with I forget who it was, an opponent from who they played in their last game. They were kind of talking after the game, and they made a comment towards DJ Moore. Man, they're misusing you over there. And DJ Moore was like, "Yeah, tell me about it." So
Yikes.
DJ Moore, he hasn't even been there that long, and he's already apparently unsatisfied with the way Chicago is using him. So
Yeah.
man, just dysfunction all across the board, and I don't see their offense doing anything against this Chiefs defense. I feel like this is rather a simple preview. This is a very
Yeah.
basic preview, but there's not much else to say, man. Like, the Bears have the potential to be one of the 5 worst teams in the NFL this year, which is, I thought they would be better this year. I thought they would be better this year than they were last year, but it's not looking like it through the first couple weeks of the NFL. And it is still early, and I should say that, but it's more alarming when the issues that we saw last year, particularly with Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears, are still issues this year.
Yeah. And I just don't really see what everybody else sees in Justin Fields. I think he could be good in the right system. That system's not Chicago. The same way that DJ Moore is having problems. Chase Claypool, a guy that they traded for, has had like disciplinary problems. Like, he just hasn't been a good fit there. But then again, who has been a good fit there? So, like you said, this is such an easy game to preview, because the Chicago Bears are not a worthy opponent to play the Chiefs. They're going to play the Chiefs, but the Chiefs should win this game so easily. I will be at this game because I have to work the game. I should be able to leave this game to get back to Lawrence at halftime, and the Chiefs should be up by 3 scores. But
Yeah,
the way that Andy Reid plays football sometimes is Not always I want to say the way that we think. If the Chiefs have the same kind of mistakes that they did against Jacksonville in terms of turning the ball over and not running the football, Chicago's going to hang around a lot longer than they should. They should not be in this game whatsoever. If the Chiefs start off with the ball, Chicago should never have a chance to lead in this game. But I think it's really going to depend on the play calling. If we see the Chiefs run the ball, and hopefully our wide receivers can catch the ball and not give it up once they do catch the ball.
For sure. Well, so I'm going to transition to the offense in a second, but I want to go over the injury report for this game because there's some defensive players on there. So the Chiefs tweeted out earlier today, Isaiah Pacheco, Willie Gay, and Kadarius Toney are questionable for Sunday's game. Nick Bolton and Richie James are out. Focusing on the defensive players there and Willie Gay and Nick Bolton, that'd be a pretty big hit to your linebacker core if they could not play in this game. Willie Gay, I would think he's going to play. Nick Bolton, he's out, obviously, which hurts. It also hurts with Nick Bolton even more because he's the green dot. He calls your defense. And so someone else is going to have to step up in that regard. But I feel like even if Willie Gay and Nick Bolton were not to play in this game, like bring me Drew Tranquil and Leo Chenal because those two guys have been monsters so far for the Kansas City Chiefs. Tranquil in very limited snaps. But if there's ever a matchup to not have Nick Bolton, I feel like it's this one, and you can get away with it. You'll need him more so next week, but give me Drew Tranquil and Leo Chenal more snaps for those guys, especially Chenal, man. Like he was awesome last week, especially in the run game. Like, and I'm confident in the depth that this Chiefs defense has.
Not only am I confident in the depth of the Chiefs defense, I'm just not confident that Chicago could get it done even against our backup defense.
Yeah.
I think we'll be okay. Obviously, you want Nick Bolton to be okay and you want Willie Gay to play, but if there's ever a game to not play, like you said, it would be this game.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel. And again, the secondary, just looking at them, I like this matchup versus Chicago. DJ Moore is their only pass catcher that like really gives me any sort of concern, and it's not like they don't have the horses to run against DJ Moore and like Darnell Mooney and Chase Claypool. Like the Chiefs are going to be fine, guys. Like the Chiefs face two of the best offenses from last year, and they've only allowed two true offensive touchdowns. And they held the Jaguars to 9 points, and they held the Lions to 14 points. And they were awesome in the red zone versus Jacksonville last week. And like Jacksonville, like they're stacked at the skill positions. And Trevor Lawrence, a lot of people like Trevor Lawrence has quickly sneaked into people's top 5 quarterback rankings. Like that was a really good defensive performance against a good offensive team. Now this defense is going to face a really bad offensive team. And like you said, I expect this game to be like a double-digit lead at halftime. Like the Chiefs are going to win. The game's over by halftime.
What are the odds the Chiefs defense shut out the Bears offense?
If there was ever a game for that to happen, it would be this one. Also, what are the odds that the Chiefs get a defensive touchdown? Because I'd argue they're pretty high in this one.
Oh, man. Yeah, I can see a pick six to the house. Fields has already thrown a couple of those this season, so that's definitely plausible. But honestly, is there a specific amount of points given up that you would deem it as a failure, even if the Chiefs won by double digits? Like
I mean, not really, because I feel like if that's the case, it's probably because the Chiefs started like taking their foot off the gas. Like,
okay,
then you put in some reserves and stuff like that, guys that typically don't play a lot, like that. Like, and then maybe the Bears get like a garbage time touchdown to make the game look closer than it really was. Like, I mean, but if that doesn't happen and the Bears score like 25 points or more, like, okay, yeah, maybe I'd be a little bit concerned. But even then, it's like it would be a one-off performance compared to what we've seen from the Chiefs defense this year. And I think you could also just chalk it up as the Chiefs defense just being like, it's Chicago. Like, we're not going to give it 100%.
I could not see the Bears scoring more than 15 points. I genuinely could not. I think if there's ever a game for the Chiefs to hold somebody scoreless, it would be this game. And I almost expect them to hold them to sub 10 points. I can see the Chiefs defense clamping up against the wide receiver core of Chicago. They don't got any world beaters. I like DJ Moore a lot, but we have the dogs to fight against their wide receivers. And honestly, I don't trust Justin Fields converting in short yardage situations or in the red zone against this Chiefs defense. If Trevor Lawrence couldn't do it, Justin Fields definitely couldn't do it. So I do have a lot of confidence in this Chiefs defense. And almost for, progression, I want to see this defense continue to perform at a high level, because I don't want to have any semblance of a thought that, okay, maybe this defense is a fluke. I don't want to think like that. I think if the Chiefs defense comes out against Chicago, shuts them down offensively, I think it's only going to further prove the point that the Chiefs defense is legit.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I have full confidence in this defense on Sunday. Not worried about them. I mean, even if the Chiefs offense sputters again, which I don't expect them to, and we're going to get to the offense here right after this, but if the Chiefs offense sputters again, I'm still, confident that the defense just basically goes out there and wins the game like they did against Jacksonville, and it's another 17-9, 15-6 type of victory, something like that. Like I'm not worried. We'll go ahead and talk about the offense though. So the Chicago Bears, bottom six offense. Well, they're also a bottom 5 defense. They're giving up they're giving up 300 and over 380 total yards of offense per game so far. They're giving up 277 pass yards per game. And they've only faced Baker Mayfield and Jordan Love. So the Chiefs offense was a disappointment in week 1. They were a disappointment in week 2. There was ever a get right game for the passing offense for the receiver. I know Patrick Mahomes still threw for 300 yards last week, but the offense stalled a lot, and penalties were a main issue. But if there was ever a get right game for this offense, it's against Chicago, man. Like bottom 5 defense, they're giving up nearly 400 yards of offense a game. I know a lot of people want to see the passing offense kind of take off, and I could definitely see that happening in this one, especially as the receivers are starting to get more experience under their belt in this offense. But I want to see the rushing game established for once. I really do. Like, I know this team throws the ball, but the Bears are not good at defending the run either. They're not good at defending anything, which also makes me concerned for head coach Matt Eberflus's job this year, because I like Matt Eberflus. He was a former Mizzou defensive coordinator. I was happy to see him get the job, and the Bears defense was also terrible before he took the job. He's been there for a little over a season now, and the defense is still pretty bad. I know they haven't invested a ton in it. Their pass rush is basically non-existent, but I'm a little bit worried for my guy Matt Eberflus right now. And this game, I don't think is going to make Bears fans feel better about it.
Oh no, I think Bears fans will probably have this game turned off about 10 minutes into the first quarter. You mentioned the Bears can't really defend anything well. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to go for 400 yards. I don't even think it's going to be close. He might go for 500.
I would like to see it.
Like, if there's ever, like you said, a get-right game for the offense, it's against this Bears defense. And honestly, I'm not necessarily looking at the yards or the points the Chiefs put up. I'm more just looking at, did they shoot themselves in the foot? Did they have 4 turnovers? Did they catch the ball? Did they run the ball effectively? Did they block well up front? Were the penalties on the offensive line corrected from last week? That's the stuff that I'm going to be looking for, because if they can correct those things, I mean, the final score is not going to matter because the Chiefs are going to win by God knows how much. But I do think that as long as we improve on some of the areas where we really fell short last week, I think that the Chiefs are going to win this game by a lot.
Yeah. I like what you said about them not shooting themselves in the foot, because they definitely shouldn't be doing that in this game. again, the big issue last week was penalties. That's an area in which I'm going to be keeping a close eye on. The offensive line. Juwan Taylor was the main culprit last week. Donovan Smith also was not great. I believe even Joe Tooney had a penalty, I think, or maybe it was Creed Humphrey, one of the two. Maybe it was both. I honestly can't remember, but it was a lot of penalties. The Bears' defensive line, again, does not scare me. They're not very good. Um, I know they signed Yannick Ngakoue late in the offseason. I like Yannick Ngakoue as a pass rusher. He's absolutely awful at defending the run. He's consistently been one of the worst run defending defensive ends in the league for a while now. So again, establish the run game. I would like to see that happen. I know Isaiah Pacheco is questionable. Uh, I would imagine Lamichael Pirine gets called up for this game or is made active. I would really like to see him get some carries. I really liked what he did in preseason. And then throw some Jerick McKinnon in there, who they haven't really tried much this season.
We're gonna see
I'm good
Clyde,
on.
aren't we?
Yeah, we are. We are. It is what it is, I guess. But yeah, man. I'm gonna be looking at the offensive line. Are you opening up holes in the run game? Juwan Taylor, can you get this thing figured out? Because Juwan Taylor, the stats would show that he's been awesome in pass blocking. Like he's been one of the best right tackles in the league this year. When you take away the penalties, and of course the penalties, they've been a lot. So um, we'll see if he cleans it up. They were kind of picking on him a little bit though last week. The refs after they sent that email out or whatever, like they were really singling him out, and it's a little unfair to him. But hopefully this week it's not as bad.
Yeah, I definitely think that they had a microscope on him and they were watching everything that he did specifically because of that email. But yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, I want to see progress from the offensive line. You got to play a clean brand of football to win in the NFL. And you might be able to get away with that against the Bears. But again, we want to see individual improvements because don't look at this game specifically. Look ahead. Look at some of the teams you're going to face down the line. And you want to make sure that you're a more polished football team by that point, not making the same mistakes that you made in week 2. Because if you're making the same mistakes you make in week 2, in week 8 or 9, something's wrong. So correct those mistakes in this game against an inferior opponent, and it's going to serve you well for the rest of the season.
Well, and it's like the penalties really hurt the Chiefs last week because the Jaguars are a good enough team where they really like once they got in those second and long, third and forever, they were not converting. They were basically playing to make the punt a little bit easier for Tommy Townsend. Uh, and against the Bears, like you said, you can get away with that, and maybe it doesn't matter how many penalties they get, and they're just going to keep marching on down the field. But I want to see the penalties cleaned up because that's the kind of football that can come back to bite you against a better team like Cincinnati or even Buffalo.
Yeah, and well, Cincinnati, goodness gracious, they're a mess. And they they play the Rams this week, and Joe Burrow might not play. The Bengals might not be the team that even makes it very far in the AFC to begin with, but no, they are a team that is going to at least give you some concern, like the Buffalo Bills. So you got to make sure that you clean that stuff up because playing a clean brand of football is the only way to win against whoever the top team in the AFC is. Baltimore's looked really good. The Miami Dolphins have looked great. So I definitely want to see the Chiefs correct the small stuff against a team like the Bears because it's only going to help them in the long run.
Yeah, it's a get right game. Like it's a
Yeah.
game against. It's like in college when you're playing an FCS team. You know, like
Yeah.
we just the only thing that you can learn about your team is bad things if things go wrong. Like no one's going to be overly impressed if you beat the Bears, but if we're seeing penalties against the Bears, turnovers against the Bears, turnovers is another thing. They've been bad with turnovers this year
Yeah.
so far. If those are things we're seeing against the Bears, you know we have a problem.
Yeah, and I would wonder how the Bears would be able to force so many turnovers when they can't do anything well. So that's
We're
more indicative of yourself and how bad
We're
you
really
are.
dunking on him. We're really dunking on him. I'm sure there's people that are going, guys, you're way too confident. Like it's NFL, it's any given Sunday, and like I get the any given Sunday thing, but man, this really feels like it should be a double digit win and nothing
People were
less.
saying that against when the Chiefs played the Jets in like 2020. I
Mm-hmm.
remember going on a live stream, and for 20 minutes I was just like, "This isn't even a game. The Chiefs are going to win this game by so much it's not even funny." And I remember people saying, "Any given Sunday, it doesn't matter. Any team can beat any team. Doesn't matter the day." And the Chiefs came out and won by like 3-4 scores. Like it wasn't even close.
It was like
Um,
30-9 or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah. So guys, relax. I think that the Chiefs, I don't want to say have this one in the bag, but they have this one in the bag. Just how much are you going to win by? That's my final question. How much are you going to win by?
Well, you're going to be able to answer that right now because I'm asking you for your score prediction for the
Oh
game.
wow, what a segue! Josh has been on with the segues so far. Um, oh man, final score prediction.
Putting you on the spot.
I don't think the Chiefs are going to score into the 40s. I think that for as good and as bad as the Bears are, I do think that the Chiefs are probably going to get hit to a point where they maybe let up off the gas a little bit. With that being said, the Chiefs are at least scoring, I'll say 30, 31, 31 to 6. I'll say 31 to
Wow,
6.
6.
I think this defense either allows one touchdown and the kicker misses the extra point or 2 field goals. I could genuinely see the Chiefs defense crushing this Chicago Bears team. Worst case scenario, it's like 31 to 17, but they get like a garbage time touchdown. But I'm going to say 31 to 6. It's a bold take, and my score predictions have been way off to start this season, but you might as well shoot high.
Well, the main reason our predictions have been off is because the Chiefs offense has been letting us down. We've been picking like 20, 30 something points. The Chiefs are yet to really explode
They
in
haven't cracked
this
30 yet. Now
yeah,
that
in
I
this short
realized it.
season. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
like they scored 20 against the Lions that as are barely got 20 points and then last week against Jacksonville only 17. Now, the Chiefs very well could have tacked on one more touchdown at the end there.
Yeah.
But Andy just decided to knee it out. Uh, really, they should have won that game. Like, if Andy was aggressive, he could have won like 24-9 instead of 17-9. But I'm going to say that the Chiefs score 30 in this one. I'm going to say 31-10, the Chiefs win. I do think they allow a touchdown in this game to the Bears, but it'll probably be late in the game, and then they get a field goal at some other point in the game. I think they run away with this one. It's never really going to be close. It's in Arrowhead. It's just going to be a nice stress-free Chiefs game, and hopefully no injuries.
Yeah, as long as the Chiefs come out of this game with the win and no injuries, and they make some improvements on some of the areas that they have not looked so good in this season, I think that's a big win. But mainly just get the win and no injuries.
For sure. So, with all that being said, Michael, that's our preview. Those are our score predictions. But before we sign off, why don't you go ahead and let everyone know where they can find you?
You guys can find me on YouTube at KC Sports Report, Instagram KC_Sports Report, and Twitter is at KC Sports Report. The personal Instagram and Twitter is at the Michael Darcy. Check out my stuff on Bleacher Report. It's on the Bleacher Report mobile app. And also, it's just all on my YouTube channel. So YouTube's really the one-stop shop to find everything KC sports related. And also, I hope Travis Kelce runs so far away from Taylor Swift. But, I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, well, all that will be in the description. So you guys can head over to Michael's channel and listen to his 20-minute rant about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift potentially dating, because I'm sure he's going to make a video on that. But
yes, and Famous by Kanye is going to be the song that is underlying everything.
Yeah, so go and check that out whenever it comes out. I'm sure it'll be dropping soon. As far as the Kingdom Crew podcast, guys, we've been doing these episodes weekly. We really appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure you check out the audio versions that I have down in the description. The podcast is on Spotify. It's on Apple Podcasts. It's on most of those platforms, so you can find it on there if you don't always want to watch on YouTube. But we do appreciate those that do watch on YouTube. But yeah, that's all we got, guys. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. You can check out my work on showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com. And we will see you all in the next one. Go Chiefs.